Story 1. Haunted Sanctuary. I was never one to believe in the existence of ghosts or spirits. However, all of that changed when I dared to step foot inside that old, eerie church that stood at the edge of town. The church had an air of desolation about it. It was a small, dilapidated building that had weathered the passages of time poorly. Its walls were worn and discoloured, the paint peeling off in patches. The roof sagged under the weight of years, and the wooden pews were creaky and unstable. But what struck me the most was the overgrown graveyard that surrounded the church, as if the resting souls had chosen to remain close to the place of worship. With a mixture of curiosity and trepidation, I pushed open the heavy wooden doors and stepped into the dimly lit interior. The moment I crossed the threshold, an unsettling shiver crawled up my spine, as if an unseen presence was watching my every move. I brushed it off as my own imagination playing tricks on me, attributing the eerie atmosphere to the dusty air and the faint scent of incense that lingered from long-forgotten rituals. The church was silent, save for the echoes of my footsteps reverberating off the walls. The flickering candles, casting eerie shadows on the cracked plaster, were the only sources of light. Faded religious paintings adorned the walls, their once vibrant colours now muted by the passage of time. Rays of sunlight pierced through the stained glass windows, casting fragmented patterns on the worn wooden floor. Driven by a strange compulsion, I made my way toward the front of the church, where the altar stood. The closer I got, the more the atmosphere seemed to thicken, as if an invisible force surrounded me. An icy breeze brushed past me, causing the hair on my arms to stand on end. Goosebumps covered my skin, and a sense of foreboding settled in the pit of my stomach. It felt as if someone unseen was whispering in my ear, their words too faint to comprehend. Undeterred by the mounting unease, I pressed on, my eyes fixated on the ornate cross that hung above the altar. It was a mesmerizing sight, the intricate carvings catching the dim light in an ethereal glow. Compelled by an inexplicable urge, I reached out to touch it, my fingertips mere inches away. And then, in an instant, the candle flame that illuminated the area snuffed out, plunging the church into an oppressive darkness. Panic seized me, tightening its grip around my heart. The silence became suffocating, broken only by the sound of my own racing heartbeat. Desperation consumed me as I fumbled for my phone, my trembling hands searching for its faint glow. When the screen finally came to life, its weak illumination barely pierced the shadows. I cast the feeble light around me, searching for answers, for an escape. What I saw next froze me in my tracks. Shadows danced along the walls, their twisted forms contorting in unnatural ways. They writhed and shifted, their movements fluid yet disconcerting. The air grew heavy with their malevolence, and I could feel their presence closing in on me, suffocating me with their icy breath. Fear consumed every fibre of my being as I stumbled backwards, tripping over a loose floorboard. The sound of my own clumsiness reverberated through the church, amplifying my terror. I knew I had to get out of there, but something seemed to hold me back, an unseen force preventing me from escaping the clutches of this spectral realm. Whispers filled the air, growing louder and more distinct with each passing moment. They spoke of pain, sorrow, and despair. It was as if the spirits of the departed were trapped within those very walls, longing to be heard, longing for release from their eternal torment. In a final burst of courage, I mustered all my strength and sprinted toward the entrance, my heart pounding in my chest like a drum. But as I reached for the doorknob, an invisible force slammed it shut with a resounding thud, trapping me inside. I pounded on the door, screaming for help, but my cries were swallowed by the suffocating darkness that enveloped me. I turned around, my eyes wide with terror, and there they were, the apparitions. Their faces were pale, their eyes vacant, and their spectral forms moved with an otherworldly grace. They floated toward me, their ethereal bodies twisting and contorting, their movements both mesmerizing and grotesque. Backed into a corner, my mind clouded with fear. I realized I had no choice but to confront the phantoms before me. As I summoned every ounce of my courage, my voice trembled as I pleaded, "What do you want from me?" In response, a voice echoed through the church, commanding and authoritative.
"You must leave this place, for it does not belong to the living."
The voice resonated within my bones, urging me to escape, to break free from this paranormal nightmare. Summoning all my remaining strength, I pushed against the invisible barrier that held me captive. With a surge of energy, the door flung open, its hinges groaning in protest. I stumbled out into the cool night air, gasping for breath, my whole body trembling with the weight of what I had experienced. As I stood there, my back turned to the forsaken church, I couldn't help but look back one last time. And in that fleeting glance, I swore I saw the shadows of the spirits standing in the doorway, watching me with hollow eyes, their longing and torment etched into their ethereal forms. Story 2. St. Audoen's Church. I've always been fascinated by the history of St. Audoen's Church. The last remaining medieval church in Dublin, it stood strong through the centuries, a testament to its endurance in times of great turbulence. But there are some stories about the church that are far from comforting. Legend has it that the area around the church was once known as Hell, due to its rampant violence and the concentration of taverns and brothels. It's said that many battles took place between gangs in that area, and the victors would hang their opponents at the gates of hell as a warning to others. It's no wonder that those passing through the archway often feel a presence there. One of the most famous figures said to haunt St. Audoen's Church is Darky Kelly, a businesswoman who ran a brothel just off Fishamble Street. Rumours suggest that she became pregnant by a city sheriff and demanded financial support, only to be accused of witchcraft and sacrificing her unborn child as part of a satanic ritual. Some even say she was a serial killer, responsible for the deaths of at least 5 men whose body parts were discovered under the floorboards of her brothel. Whatever the truth of her life and death, Darky's spirit is believed to appear on the ancient steps beside the old church, heading towards the gates of hell. Known as the Green Lady, she's been witnessed by many people over the years, including myself. One night, I was walking past the church and caught sight of a woman dressed in green walking up the steps towards the gates of hell. As I approached her, she vanished into thin air. The hair on my arms stood on end, and I knew I had just witnessed something otherworldly. But Darky's ghost isn't the only one said to haunt St. Audoen's Church. Thomas Whaley, who oversaw the second incarnation of Dublin's Hellfire Club, is rumoured to have committed even more vile atrocities than the original. But when he arrived at the church seeking absolution, it's said that he saw the devil himself moving up the aisle towards him, and fled the church and the country in terror, never to return. Some say he died haunted by the memory of that encounter. I've heard other stories of paranormal encounters at St. Audoen's Church too. A group of nuns once claimed to have encountered the ghosts of lepers, while others have seen shadowy figures around the gates of hell and heard the sound of footsteps when there had been nobody there. And it's not just outside the church. Many visitors claim to have sensed that they were being watched while looking around the interior of the church itself. As I stood there, contemplating the legends that swirled around St. Audoen's Church, a chill ran down my spine. The stories seemed too eerie to dismiss as mere fiction, and the encounters too vivid to be dismissed as figments of imagination. The history of this place was steeped in darkness and tragedy, leaving an indelible mark on its walls. But as I turned to leave, something caught my attention. A faint whisper in the wind, carried on a breath that seemed to emanate from within the church itself. It was a chilling voice, barely audible, beckoning me to delve deeper into the mysteries that lay hidden within these ancient walls. Unable to resist the allure of the unknown, I paused, my curiosity piqued. Was there more to St. Audoen's church than met the eye? Were there other spirits waiting to share their stories, trapped between realms? I knew I had to return, to delve deeper into the paranormal secrets that this place held. As I ventured back into the haunted halls of St. Audoen's church, ready to unravel the enigmatic tales that await. Are you prepared to join me on this chilling journey? Story 3. The Confession. The old church stood atop a small hill, overlooking the town with an air of solemnity. Its weathered stone walls held centuries of secrets, and its presence seemed to be a constant reminder of the town's history. The church had always been a source of comfort and community, a place where generations of families gathered to worship and seek solace. But for me, that sense of comfort had been replaced by an unsettling feeling whenever I stepped foot inside. The unease would begin to grip me even before I crossed the threshold, as if an invisible force was warning me of something lurking within. The stained glass windows depicting biblical scenes seemed to cast eerie shadows that danced on the walls. The pews, worn down by years of use, creaked as if whispering secrets. The air itself felt thick and heavy, almost suffocating. Despite these unsettling sensations, I continued attending services, trying to dismiss the growing unease as mere imagination. I convinced myself that it was a result of the church's age and the stories whispered among the townsfolk about its mysterious past. One evening, the church committee asked for volunteers to help prepare for the annual harvest festival. Being a dedicated member of the congregation, I eagerly offered my assistance. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the town, I found myself alone in the church, surrounded by the silence that only old buildings can possess. I busied myself with setting up tables and chairs in the fellowship hall, attempting to ignore the nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach. But then, from the depths of the sanctuary, I heard a noise, a faint rustling, like the soft shuffle of footsteps. My heart skipped a beat as I froze in place, straining my ears to confirm what I thought I'd heard. The sound persisted, growing louder and more distinct. Slow, deliberate footsteps echoed through the empty church, each one sending a shiver down my spine. I summoned my courage and cautiously made my way towards the sanctuary, the shadows growing deeper and more foreboding with each step. The heavy doors creaked as I pushed them open, and my breath caught in my throat as I peered into the dimly lit space. The church appeared empty at first glance, the pews standing as silent sentinels in the darkness. But then, movement caught the corner of my eye. A flicker of movement near the back of the church. I turned my gaze, my heart pounding in my chest, and that's when I saw it. A figure, draped in darkness, stood motionless near the baptismal font. It seemed almost ethereal, blending with the shadows, its presence suffused with an otherworldly aura. I strained my eyes to discern any features, but all I could perceive was an inky blackness, as if the very essence of night had taken human form. A wave of terror washed over me, and I instinctively tried to scream, but my voice betrayed me. Locked within my constricted throat, the figure began to move, its steps deliberate and measured, as if it knew the power it held over my trembling form. Panic surged through my veins, urging me to flee, to escape the clutches of this malevolent presence. But in my haste, my foot caught on the edge of a carpet, and I tumbled to the ground, sprawling helplessly on the cold, hard floor. Lying there, vulnerable and exposed, I awaited my inevitable fate. The figure drew closer, its presence overwhelming, and I could feel its chilling breath upon my face. It was a moment frozen in time, where terror merged with despair, and I resigned myself to the unknown horrors that awaited me. And then, as abruptly as it had appeared, the figure vanished. The oppressive air lightened, and the church returned to its silent, empty state. I lay there, trembling, my mind spinning with questions and disbelief. What had just happened? Was it a spectre from beyond the grave? A malevolent entity playing with my fear? I struggled to my feet, my body trembling with exhaustion and terror. Slowly, I made my way out of the church, each step weighted with a newfound caution. The night air greeted me with a sense of relief, as if it held the answer to the mysteries that lingered within those ancient walls. Days turned into weeks, and I tried to bury the memory of that haunting encounter, but the old church continued to beckon me, its presence a constant reminder of the terror I had experienced. No longer could I dismiss it as mere imagination or the product of an overactive mind. Despite my fear, I felt compelled to uncover the truth behind the church's dark secrets. I delved into local records, seeking any clues that could shed light on the enigmatic figure I had encountered. Legends and whispers from the past began to surface, tales of a long-forgotten tragedy that had befallen the church and its inhabitants. As I pieced together fragments of the past, a chilling realization took hold. The church had been built on a site tainted by unspeakable deeds, an ancient burial ground distributed by the hands of man. It was said that those who desecrated the sacred resting place would be haunted by vengeful spirits, forever tormented by the darkness they had unleashed.